Welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about games. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1 is our Raven, Gabe.
Yay.
Player 2 is our Kiwi, Anthony.
I'm delicious.
Player 3 is our Peacock, Walsh. Oh, wow. Jesus. Player 4 is our Penguin, Chris. Player 5 is our Quail, Kelsey. And player 6 is our Cardinal, Matt.
Bienvenue.
And this is the final episode of season 1 of the Coop. We've been doing this podcast for 3 years since the August of the first year of the pandemic, which is just kind of nuts. We've been talking about games for many a months. And it's time for a little bit of a reboot and a little bit of a change. We will return to this format in some regards for a couple of episodes a year. Specifically the game of the year. We'll have everyone come together, talk about what their favorite game of that year was, and of course our most anticipated game episodes in June. So basically it'll be like twice a year we're looking at that, and maybe occasionally other times if we see the format fit that. But we have a lot of new shows and ideas of how we want to go about with the Gaming Coop, and we'll talk about that near the end of the podcast. But we just want to say thank you so much for listening to us, and now you're going to hear us talk about what we think, and it's not locked in, what we think our favorite game of all time is, each of us. And again, we're not locking anyone into this. This is going to change. This is a dynamic situation. However, we just figured we'll bring one game to the table that we think could be in that conversation or just is locked in there. And we're going to start with our buddy Gabe, who's going to talk about a game that is now third place in among the most talked about games on the podcast, Tunic. Gabe, why is Tunic your favorite game of all time?
Well, like I've stated before, Tunic is such a memorable game to me, and I think that it easily holds the title of favorite game of all time for me. I played through the game maybe 9 times now, each
Wow.
time going through the game on New Game Plus. Because much like Dark Souls, you can go through New Game Plus or any Soulsborne game. You can go through New Game Plus with all your current stats and abilities, just with some things revoked. And on my 9th playthrough, my health bar reaches from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen.
Wow.
So it is that massive of a difference because typically it reaches maybe fifth of the screen, but now I've replayed the game so much that it's that insanely high. Plus, and like I've talked about before, the game's art style and just the general mood of the game is very mysterious, and it's very impactful what little story you're given that's decipherable to normal people, because nerds can translate the game's glyph dialogue, the glyph text, and it's only up to those super nerds to give us the whole story. And
yeah.
I it's been a while since I've read the full thing, but for what we're given, it gives a lot of mystique, and it makes a lot of interest into it gives you a lot of interest into what could be happening in this world. And I was actually talking about this with another friend of mine yesterday. The game's endings are especially awesome to me because there's the bad ending and the true ending. And when I first beat the game, it was the bad ending, and my jaw was on the floor, and I was like, this can't be it. This cannot be the way the game ends. So I went back in, and I went back in on New Game Plus, and I found all the manual pieces, because that is what you need to do to get the true ending. You need to find all the pieces of the manual. And then I got the true ending, and I felt like it was well worth my time to be able to play through the game again. And then I've done it again and again and again, and it's been I cannot remember like I said, it was like 9 times. I don't even think that's correct. Um, it's been such a ride, this game, and the fact that it's so endlessly replayable to me means it's a very important game to me. And I've talked to you guys about it before. It's just so good. It's just so good in my opinion, and I know it's not for everyone, but to those who have enjoyed it through whatever means, like if you needed to play the game with some of the accessibility options turned on, that doesn't matter to me as long as you enjoy the game and saw it through to the end. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might. I don't know if anyone else here has played it yet. But we've talked about it at the time when during our game of the year discussion. I had been in Tunic, and it was definitely I definitely beat it in the way that in the like way of, oh, I decided to go down the route of, let's turn on the immunity mode, let's turn on the turn off stamina, let me, I just wanted to just enjoy this experience. And it really is just such a gorgeous game, and it's such a fun game from the perspective of just exploring it. Like it I enjoyed finding all the pieces of the manual, and talking, like just interacting with the environment. It's just it, there's just an endless mystery that you have there, and I think unless you do what Gabe has done, which is play it a bunch, I don't think you will truly understand everything that it is to know about the game. Which is totally okay. Like, there's a lot of games out there that are tell these stories in very unique ways, and it's just fun to have that play out in a video game. And Tunic is just, it's so creative in the way that they approach it, and the fact that like, again, the game manual thing is just such a creative idea that I'm surprised had not been used prior. Like, I understand, like, in the past, game manuals were such a big thing with games, but for most people, they would just toss that game manual aside. There's a lot of people who love games who do care about it, but it generally it's not, people don't usually look at the manual. But the fact that they just put that in the game as a pure mechanic is just, it's just so impressive. And it looks gorgeous. It reminds you of old school Nintendo, like Game Boy Advance, like little booklets that you would look through. It's really, really well done. And so definitely endorse Tunic, even if not everything about it was particularly for me.
Another thing that I would like to bring up when talking about Tunic, a couple things actually. The game recently got a physical release,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
yeah, and I just think that's awesome because it's through Fangamer, and
Hmm.
a lot of really good indie games have been released physically through Fangamer. And the manual itself also got a hardcover release.
Hell yeah, excellent.
So it's a really good coffee table piece, and I think I'm gonna get it eventually, along with the physical version. But and the fact that it also got a Game of the Year nomination,
Yep.
um, it's it it's the game hasn't gone unnoticed, and with how much support the game has gotten since its release, I think it's I think it's well worth anyone's time to at least try it out, especially since it's still on Game Pass.
I haven't played Tunic, but just something that I think is worth highlighting that Gabe said was, you know, if you're somebody that needs to play in a modified way in order so that you can enjoy a game, not just Tunic, but any game, people who have to prefer to use something like a God mode or cheats or whatever, that you're experiencing the game, the narrative, the product that's been putting out. I'm a huge supporter of that. And I know that there are people who can be really antagonistic about people modifying gameplay for their enjoyment. And I just think that we have done a really good job in our space of creating, like, we talk about cozy gaming. I consider this to be like a cozy podcast kind of. And I think that our first season that we've done here, that what Gabe just spoke to is something that we've highlighted before, but I think is even more important to highlight as we're wrapping up this first talk of all of these games, is that, you should play a game And a developer should allow the game to be approached in whatever way the gamer needs to or prefers to digest the content in order to enjoy the content. And I think that that should be celebrated, that we all need to do things differently in order to enjoy the game. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that you're enjoying the game and that we're celebrating that you're enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Mhm. One more thing. This is a recent development. The developers of the game was able to watch the world record speedrun of Tunic, and this was like a few months back. But they recognized just how far the speedrunning scene had come, even if it was the game had released very recently, and they had taken some notes. And one thing, they nerfed a speedrun strategy.
Oh no.
However, they left it in the game through a cheat code.
Okay.
That's fun.
That's all right. I was gonna say, oh, that's I always feel bad when that happens. I understand the developer just wants to make their game more polished, but like
That
the
would have
fact that
completely negated everything I just said.
right,
Yeah,
right,
no, they
but
still left it in the game. It's just as a cheat
yeah,
code now, so it's like another little secret that you can find. Because
perfect. Yeah,
along with the accessibility options like reducing screen flashing or reducing screen shaking, God mode, just like even a big head cheat or whatever. There's a lot of secrets that you can find in the game by doing a lot of button combinations and stuff. And seeing that the developers have recognized the speedrunning scene and just small communities surrounding the game itself, I think it means a lot.
hey man, I this is why I'm an indie stan. Like I feel like more than anything, the indie games in general, and obviously like not all of them end up in this way, unfortunately, but it, more than any like subsect of the uh gaming industry, like they listen to their audience because generally it's gonna be a lot smaller than the AAA audience, but it's also like, hey, like I'm like one person, or I'm like a small group of people who decided to make this game and put it out on Steam only or whatever. Like it, they have more of an investment in the audience, and the fact that they listen to them and hear them out and listen to all parts of it, whether it is like the people who are just gods at the game from speedrunners, or from people who are like me, who are like, I don't like conflict. Give me baby mode, please. Like like and they cater to that. Like I just think that's it's more work for them, but the fact that they do put that work in to make it more special and to make it more accommodating for everyone is just awesome. And so I totally respect and I love that Tunic does that, and so many other developers have done that as well.
I think that the game looks fantastic. I think that we've been talking a lot about accessibility, and I think that it's fantastic. But even the game itself looks like there can be quite a bit of challenge to it if you allow that. I think
Absolutely.
that it makes me very interested in it. It looks like a game that I want to sit down and practice and get good at. There is a certain skill that you can practice here that would be a lot of fun to exercise. And at the same time, just the aesthetic, the top-down look of it, it just looks great. I'm definitely interested in playing it.
It's just cute. It's just a great art style. It's also fun whenever Gabe played it for me. I could just tell how much he really, really liked it and knew a lot about it. It's fun, getting to learn about it through his eyes.
I think my favorite thing about this podcast and just in general hanging out with everyone is just like whenever someone has like something that they really really love and love talking about, like I love learning about that thing through them, and like you said, Matt, and just like that it's there's something about that just like, oh, that's cool, like that this is something that they're super passionate about, and then also like something maybe you could be passionate about too. Like it's really cool. It's great. But yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna be frank. I still haven't discovered all of the game's secrets. Um,
sure.
like I'm not like a master at the game. Like I'm pretty good with the combat. It's just I haven't discovered a lot of things, and one of those things is the fairy system, where if you there are certain patterns in the ground or the walls or whatever that if you input a combination on the D-pad, it will make something happen. And with the fairies, the puzzles can be a little tricky, but the fairies have their own language, and it's through musical notation, and I think it's sick. Okay,
Oh, that's really cool.
that's it.
No, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that has to take so long to make languages for multiple languages that are just kind of made up, essentially. That's really awesome, and I respect the hell out of it. Um, but yeah, all right. Then we shall move on to a game that has maybe lightly been touched, not necessarily been fully discussed though on this podcast. It is Fallout New Vegas. And Anthony, you're going to tell us why it is your favorite game of all time.
You're goddamn right I am. So Fallout New Vegas is the follow-up to Fallout 3. And it was made by Obsidian Entertainment, and they are known for having a long history of really, really rich RPGs. In fact, I believe that they wrote the original Fallouts, but those are completely alien to me, so I'm honestly not quite sure. But regardless, Fallout 3 was a really satisfying game to play, but it was a bit surface level. It had a conflict about good versus evil, and like the good is obviously good, and the evil is obviously evil, and everything in between. And it was a linear game. You really did not make any significant choices at all. And Fallout New Vegas turned that on its head. They gave you multiple factions, um, some of which you could argue have gray morality, even though I think the slaving faction is pretty evil. But regardless, and they also gave you a lot of choice in the outcome of quests. And they just filled a world with such interesting stories and NPCs. And they built upon the original game's systems in really good ways. For example, Fallout 3 had several skills that were like lock picking, small guns, large guns, speech, etc. Fallout New Vegas not only gave you traits that you could assign to your character that would do things like you're better at speaking to people, but you're less skilled at combat, or a trait where you are completely okay with the fourth wall being shattered, and now there's Indiana Jones references and Monty Python references in the game. So fun little things like that. And they also added a skill for survivalism, which makes so much sense for the setting, which is out in Nevada, near Las Vegas. And just to briefly touch on the kinds of stories that are in the game, because you could talk all day about these. There's one where you run into a group of pre-war ghouls, which are people that have been changed by radiation into what looks like zombies, but they're still kind of human, but they live for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they believe that they are being called to somewhere beyond the stars. And you can help them if you want to, or you could sabotage them. But one of the most interesting choices you have to make is there's a human in their midst who truly believes that he's a ghoul. And the other ghouls know that there's so much radiation, not just in the old missile silo, but out in space, that if they humor him and let him come with them, he's going to die. But on the other hand, you would have to completely break his identity if you want him to live safely. So that's the kind of choice you have to make. Or you'll have a follower who has a conflict, right? They have some sort of enemy force that they're dealing with that wronged them in the past. And there's a violent solution where you help them kill that person, or a non-violent solution where you help them grow and realize that maybe violence isn't the answer this time. And depending on what you choose, your companion gets a perk for the entire rest of the game. The violent one gives them more gun damage, and the peaceful one gives them more health, which is just so fascinating. This game came out in like 2010. So really, really just far beyond its time. And the factions to explain those, I'm going to have to explain the setup of the story. You're a courier who is given a package to take to New Vegas, which is the Las Vegas Strip as it is, 100 years post-war. And on your way, you get ambushed and shot in the head, except the caliber that your assassin used was so small that you were able to actually survive it and just get it removed. And that gives a grounded reason for your character to start off from level 1, not really knowing anything. But as you piece the story together, you find out the person who tried to murder you and took the chip, who is voiced by Chandler from Friends, by the way.
No way.
Yeah. His name is Benny in game. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
Sure.
what's his name?
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
I knew the name. I was so blanking.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
Well, all right.
and if you wanted to find him, you could just go right in, guns a-blazing, give me back what you took from me. Or you could fucking seduce him, even if you're a male character. A decade ago, unheard of in mainstream gaming. And the game just gives you choices. They're like, we're going to put you in this situation. Tell us what you want to do about it. And there are consequences, there are bonuses. Sometimes you'll get a different quest reward. And I even played a quest just recently where at a certain point in the game, you're essentially asked to investigate the different personalities on the New Vegas Strip, right? Because each of these casinos belongs to like a faction, and they have a lot of concentrated power and sway in the region. So there's one called the White Glove Society, and they're really creepy. They're people wearing masks and white gloves and black tuxedos. And the second you get in, a cattle rancher is arguing that his son has been taken. And so you investigate the society, and it turns out that they're cannibals and that they stole his son to serve as a course, because there's one person in the faction who believes that the White Glove Society should return to its cannibalistic roots. And when I used to play the game, I was like, well, that's how I'm going to win their favor, right? Like, it's kind of fucked up, but it is what it is. But just recently, on a playthrough I started doing last year, it turns out you don't have to do that. You could sneak into their meeting and say, don't eat that plate. It contains human flesh. And they will love you just the same. And a different person will be in control of that faction for the rest of the game. And there are some larger factions too. One is called the Legion, and they are based on ancient Rome. And so they enslave people, they erase their culture, and they formed this gang that's just sweeping across the Mojave wasteland. And then there's the New California Republic, which is a government entity. And they're stretched really thin, and they're trying to bring law and stability, but they only have so much money, they only have so much manpower. And then there is Mr. House, who was a pre-war genius, built the robotics scene across the country, and he had the item that was in your package at the start of the game. So when you meet him, he said, that's the platinum chip. I need you to take it to a bunker underneath the Legion. And at this point, you have a few different options. You can follow what he asks you to do, where it's revealed that it's a firmware update for all of his robotic servants that give them these incredible killing powers, and he's going to take over New Vegas with you as his second in command. Or if you decide to kill him, you'll find that Benny, aka Matthew Perry, was planning to stage a coup against him this whole time, and you get to form your own faction. Right? And now you get to use the platinum chip, and now you have these 7-foot-tall robots with like rocket pods attached to them. And now you're this major player in this entire political game. You know, you could say, I like the NCR, I'll stop their president from being assassinated at the Hoover Dam. Or it could say, I like Kaiser, I'll protect him and his troops from the NCR. And it's just, the choices don't stop. And the main game itself had an excellently written story. Basically, the Hoover Dam and the electricity that it generates is the consolidated point of power and influence over the entire New Vegas region. So whichever faction controls that wins. But the DLC stories are really interesting too. One of them, called Dead Money, has you get kidnapped and placed in this old world casino that has been isolated from the rest of this world by this deadly fog. And you're stuck in this casino with these people who have gone feral. And you're made as an unwilling participant in a heist for all the money in the Grand Sierra casino vault. And you work with a team of other people to try and take it. But there's intrigue, there's double crossing, there's pre-war stories that have current day ramifications. And then there's another DLC that takes you to this crater called Big Empty, but it's Big Mountain. And a bunch of scientists had their brains taken out of their body and put into these robots. And they've had 200 years to just experiment and do whatever they want. And they've just been rotting in this place with no like intellectual stimulation. So you're thrust in the middle of this. Your organs get taken out and replaced with robotic ones. And you have to convince your brain to rejoin you. And you're put in a suite with all these appliances that have personality matrices assigned to them. You have a toaster that wants to burn down the world. You have a machine that just loves to collect mugs and crush them into ceramic. You
I
have
see
a
why
light...
this is your favorite game.
Yeah, you have a light switch that flirts with you. It is so funny. It puts on mood lighting, which boosts your stats after you see it. And then probably the most impactful DLC, I think, is one where you met the courier who was offered the package before you and declined it. And just like you, he has been exploring all of these factions, all of the wasteland, and he has his own conclusions that he's come to, but he basically sees you as the reason why everything has been destroyed. And at the very end of that DLC, you get to nuke one of the factions.
Jesus Christ.
And you actually get to explore this irradiated wasteland that you have created, seeing forces of that faction turned into ghouls from the radiation megadose that was dropped on them. And there's no good or bad in this game. There's no positive or negative morality. Your character is viewed through how the factions like you. So if you go in and you kill a group of raiders, they obviously hate you. But if you steal things, the NCR won't care because you didn't do anything against them, which I just think is really smart. And the feeling of the strength of player choice extends to your character too. You get to pick really impactful perks, and you get to do things like, you know, let's say you want a character that's really lucky. You've made a great choice because this game is filled with casinos, and having a high luck skill naturally influences the hands that you're dealt. But as you will find out very quickly, probably just like the real world, if you keep winning major jackpots, they get suspicious of you. You know, they'll start being like, here's a drink on the house. Here's a suite that you can stay in because you're a high roller. And then they say there's no way that you legitimately earned $5,000 here in one night. You're kicked out, never come back here.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, Fallout 3's melee system kind of sucked. It's kind of a joke. But these developers fixed it by adding in different, like, unarmed combat styles that you learn from major factions in the game. And all of this, just throwing in these little details just to reveal the most shocking part of it all, is that Fallout New Vegas had a development time of 18 months.
Fuck.
It is just as big as Fallout 3, if not bigger. And they developed a whole new storyline, all new NPCs, new assets, everything. To compare, Fallout 4 took 84 months to create. And I'm never going to let this go. I'm never going to stop punching for Oblivion on this one. Bethesda said, Obsidian, if you score 75 or higher on Metacritic, we will give your company a bonus. The critics panned New Vegas at the time because it did not feel like a significant upgrade from Fallout 3 in the graphics department. And if I recall correctly, it earned a 73.
Boo.
Wow.
They did not get that bonus paid out. Yeah,
That's the worst thing you should do as a company, is put any sort of critical leverage on any kind of sort of contract and stuff, because you cannot predict what critics do. Like people are, you have no idea how people are going to judge a game. Like it is just complete malpractice on that front.
absolutely. But New Vegas has aged so incredibly well. It is a cult classic that is also mainstream, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's still fun to play today. So, I mean, as long as you enjoy first-person shooters, you know, I think it would be something that really anybody could find something that they enjoy in it.
I just think of this meme that I'm sending. I don't understand because I didn't play any of the games, but I think of this whenever I see this, I think of my husband. I think of Anthony because it says when somebody says Fallout 76 is better than New Vegas, and then there is a character fully bandaged holding a gun and then the underneath it says we can't expect God to do all the work.
Killing people, of course.
Yes, of course. But to me, that is just Anthony. Like that's Anthony's feeling towards the situation.
Are
All right,
people actually saying that? Like that's insane.
They play country roads. Shit. Country roads take me home.
Yes, I got you.
They play country roads in the trailer, so that makes it a better game.
Right.
Actually, thank you for posting this character. I'm just going to take another 2 seconds to explain. The whole time you're playing the campaign, you hear of the Burned Man. And the Burned Man was Kaisar's second in command who betrayed him. He was this really evil character who held so strongly onto his Mormon faith that I don't remember the specifics, but he eventually came to a head. To make an example, Kaisar burned and tarred his body and threw him like down a mountain. And the entire game, people are whispering the Burned Man is not dead. And so finally, in a DLC, you meet him. That is Joshua Graham, the Burned Man, who at this point is completely focused on vengeance, but has still not forsaken his faith.
That's very cool. I think that this just speaks to the depth of story writing and narrative complexity that went into this game and how they have failed to come close.
Yeah.
In any future game. So
well, yeah. I mean, so it's interesting because it's like
Bethesda.
You look at Bethesda and you look at Obsidian too. Like the fact that Bethesda did make this was when did Fallout New Vegas come? Like when did that come out compared to Skyrim? Was Skyrim first or New Vegas first? New Vegas came out before this, right?
Yeah, New Vegas came out before this. I believe 2009 or 2010.
Yeah. If I know people there's a lot of people that like Fallout 4, but I feel like New Vegas was a height for Obsidian and Skyrim was like a height for Bethesda, and it's been a while since like they've had either of those companies have had something like really massive take off and be incredible. Like yes, Obsidian had like Outer Worlds and and they've had many other projects. They came out with Grounded, and they did a small game Pentiment last year that I played. Like they've had a lot that they've been working on like nonstop, and I wonder like it makes me look towards the future a lot in terms of like what's Avowed going to be like when that comes out, because that's the next like big RPG from Obsidian. What's Outer Worlds 2 going to look like? And of course, we've talked a lot about Starfield, but like it just kind of goes back to that like, man, this when you talk about it, Anthony, like it does sound like such a height of player choice and being able to kind of affect the world how you see fit. And you just wonder if anything of that scope can be pulled off again. And I hope. I mean, I don't know if there's like horror stories about the development of this game, because considering 18 months is a insane turnaround. Like that is not anything that we would see today probably. But yeah, but even still, like hopefully things there's no allegations there, but the fact that they pulled that off and pulled off a game that is I continuously hear Fallout being New Vegas being the best of that franchise and one of the best games ever. Like it is that is an incredible achievement on that front. Are you looking forward to any of those future projects, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Starfield. It's kind of like triple A No Man's Sky. Hate to say it, but that's the vibes I'm getting.
Yeah.
But I think Bethesda has a lot of capability. I think they have a lot of talent. This is the golden egg, right? They're like, listen, we'll release a game every 6 years, but it's gonna absolutely knock your socks off when it happens. And
yeah,
I'm gonna play it on Game Pass probably.
Yeah.
No promises, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that even when a Bethesda game is a little bit of a stinker, even when people don't fully love it, there's so much there that you can still love and appreciate. It's none of their games are ever complete failures, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think. And I think too, like it is Obsidian and Bethesda both being under Microsoft now, and the fact that all their games are gonna be going out on Game Pass, so that way people can try them out, is gonna be super neat, and we'll see if they pull it off for both studios. But New Vegas is definitely for especially the Fallout franchise. Like definitely, it feels like the peak of that franchise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we now turn our attention to something a lot less Oppenheimer-y in terms of the nuclear holocaust shit that Fallout's about. And we'll turn towards a fun party game that has been part of our lives for closing in on 10 years. And even a little bit before that too, into some regards. And that's the Jackbox Party Games series. And Matt, you say that Jackbox is your favorite game of all time. How come? Or Walsh, I should say.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit difficult to pick a game, and we were talking about this idea. I decided to go with Jackbox as a whole because you let me pick a series.
Yeah.
And the Jackbox came up on my radar around Party Pack 3. You just show up at somebody's house and you're just like, what is this? Connecting with your phones, which now seems like easy and intuitive. Now it's just this thing that just blows you away. Or then it was this thing that blew you away. Being able to just joke around and play games. And soon enough, I felt like I became the person who had Jackbox. So like, oh, bring your console, bring your whatever. We'll play Jackbox. Yeah. Or even if it was a family function. It was, Matt, go set up Jackbox. And the kids would get into it. And then before long, because it was so easy for people to hop on and play, the parents would end up jumping in on it as well. But it's always been a blast to play Jackbox games. And I feel like they've been doing such a good job of coming up with new, innovative games. There's always a few, ones that kind of stink. But there's always these ones that are always such a blast. I wanted to go around and ask, what do you guys think some of your favorite Jackbox games are from the different party packs?
I haven't. I have a very clear answer.
Yeah,
It's Party Pack 3.
just in general.
Just in general, 4 out of the 5 games in Party Pack 3 are like top tier. Quiplash, Trivia Murder Party, TKO, and Faking It, I think, are among like the best of the best.
Oh, I agree.
Espionage is fine, but those 4, like, it's the highest concentration of fantastic games.
Those, I actually think I agree that, in terms of, bangers in one party pack, 3 is definitely the best. But are there any other like standout games that you guys feel?
I know for me, I had, man, it's been like a journey for this game, because I feel like there's definitely been packs where I've been like, I'm not into any of this, and then there's been packs that I feel like I agree that 3 is definitely a top tier one. I think one of the more recent ones that I think were among my favorites was Party Pack 8. I thought Party Pack 8 was just filled with really, really great ones. Um, I did not play a lot of 9, which is I think the most recent one that came out. But like scrolling through, which ones do I like the most? I think Trivia Murder Party is up there. I like Joke Boat. I like games that like or games where you're writing stuff in and like you have to like pitch that idea. Like I'm trying to think that there's definitely Patently Stupid. Patently Stupid, I think
Apparently,
is
Stupid's great.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that one.
good.
that one I think to me is like I think my favorite of the bunch. Like I love we my family, we always used to play a game called Balderdash, which is very similar to Fibbage. But I just love any game where you are given a prompt and you have to fill in that prompt with whatever bullshit that you come up with. And it's to me, I love games that are just about trying to make anyone laugh. Even if a joke doesn't land, it is just we move forward and let's just laugh at something else. And it's just a constant good time. So that would be my answer. What about you, Anthony?
Oh boy, get ready. No, Trivia Murder Party is excellent. I think that's one of my favorite ones. Patently Stupid is really funny. I love the one where it's like the internet pages, like the memes.
Survive the Internet, that one's good too.
Yes, Survive the Internet. The one of the more recent ones where it's like you guys are a party traveling through a dungeon and there's like different doors that are like ranked choices.
I believe that is Pole Mine. Actually,
Coal Mine, yes.
Coal Mine, yes. And then finally, the last one I want to shout out, because shouting out a bunch of random general ones isn't enough. But the one where there's that big wheel that's like specific trivia.
The Wheel of Enormous Proportions.
Yes, how could I forget?
You're
I love.
not going to believe
all
what the
of
game about a big wheel is called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one has one of my favorite songs in the Jackbox. Which, by the way, like, which I know, Walsh, I don't want to like take away anymore if you're talking time, but like the soundtrack for Jackbox is awesome. They kill it with the songs that they have throughout the entire franchise. Like any game, like they have such a good soundtrack that fits with that game, no matter what. It's very good. Kelsey, do you have a favorite Jackbox game like of all time?
I really, really love TKO.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
But also, funny enough, I happened to just be reading an article. I want to say it was probably BuzzFeed, which is junk, but whatever. But it was like people who had NDAs that then like their NDA expired, so they were allowed to talk about it. And one of them was about Jackbox, which I thought was really interesting. But they essentially said that like Jackbox has a bunch of games that are pitched, but they don't all make it obviously to the final cut of a Jackbox game because there's only a handful of games that they end up publishing. But they keep them on tap for future publications, like future numbered games.
Yeah.
But apparently there's one that I think it was Poop Cake that would never made it into
Oh no.
a game. Yeah, it's Poop Cake. I just looked it up. And so I'm patiently waiting.
Longing.
of poop cake.
Longing for
the
poop
day.
cake.
Longing for
cake.
poop cake.
Yeah.
But yeah, TKO has always been like a huge favorite of mine. But I honestly think that Jackbox is incredible. I think that it deserves all the hype. I think that it should be more popular, honestly. And
Yeah.
I always have a really great time whenever we play it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think some of my favorites, I always love ones where you have to improvise, where whether it be writing or drawing something funny. I just love to draw, so those ones always draw me. I did not mean that like that. I think the ones where you have to, fake or pretend in some way, they can be fun, but they can be very stressful. The one that always stands out to me is faking it, which is like a different kind of stress, but it is so fun in a different way than something like push the button or I don't know. There's quite a few ones, or monster seeking monster, like trying to figure out like, oh, who's what.
The on faking it, the best part about faking it is when the faker raises their hand for something that is so obviously wrong.
Oh my god.
But they do it so confidently. It's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Social anxiety, the game.
I know, but that one,
my
that one's
God.
so good. I love the ones too where any of the trivia, it's just like it just becomes this game that everybody can so easily pick up and play. That's why hey, let's take it out for the kids. Let's play with friends. Let's play with people who maybe you've never done anything before. It could be this really fun icebreaker, or it could be something that you can do with people that you're already super close with. And you can take inside jokes and throw them on a T-shirt. You can use them as an answer in Quiplash, things like that.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to just shout out Jackbox and think that has been keeping people together, having people play super easy and intuitive games, and then even being this thing that even during the pandemic, people were able to play together. It's just been a lot of fun.
I do want to say that they have been slowly trickling out the names of the next pack, which is going to be Pack 10. And one of the games is TKO2.
Woo!
So
My
fan
prayers
favorite
have
coming
nearly
out.
been answered if poop cake comes out.
Yeah,
I hope Coop
that's
Cake
the
never
one
sees the
unknown.
light of day.
No.
No, yeah. I just think of like whenever we've all had a game night together, whether we're in person or we're just hanging out on Discord, I always think what is the one game, what type of game that we all of us could get together, get behind, and play a bunch of. It's always Jackbox. Jackbox is that game. Like yeah, there's Mario Kart, there's various other games that we've all played together, but one that is just been a constant for many years. I want to say since at least like since the 5th pack came out or the 6th pack came out or whatever it was, like this has been a part of our lives, and I very much appreciate it, and I love that it's continuing and it's still as beloved as ever. Like it is just a really, really great time.
Hey, if we have time after recording, I know what we should do.
Absolutely.
I want to shout out a few specific rapid fire things that I really like about Jackbox. One, getting a room of people playing without touching the same controller, especially after the pandemic, incredible. Two,
Oh, yeah.
the ability to actually buy printed shirts for the things that you make in TKO and other games. Three, how fucking wholesome it is to watch a small-time streamer playing Jackbox with their watchers all over the world, which I've seen multiple times. And 4, the sheer production quality of every single part of every single Jackbox game. From the art assets into, like you said, Chris, the music, like it has always been top quality.
100%.
Also, I'm forgetting the name of it right now because it's just been so long. The rapping one with the robots.
Madverse City.
Yeah, Madverse City. I always love playing that. I like, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, man, the more I think about it, like, is Jackbox like I feel like Jackbox is such an unsung hero in a way, because I feel like it never gets any like major accolades, but it is like the all reliable for people. Like how sometimes like Call of Duty is like all reliable for people, which I think this is better quality than that shit. Like I just I just love that Jackbox is such a big part of our lives, and certainly I think a lot of people's lives, and yet it doesn't get it doesn't get like that big mention all the time in gaming
If
circles, and I wish it did because I think it deserves it.
if someone spends at least an hour a day on Discord, they have played Jackbox before.
Exactly.
Like,
Absolutely.
that's how
Yes.
wide reaching it is.
Yeah.
And it's not even a game like you have to go out and purchase. You just need one friend to have it, which is why it's become such an
Yep.
easy thing for people to pick up and play. I also wanted to say, too, if they took every little like party game that they've ever made and put it all into one game, that you didn't have to switch from party pack to party pack, would you buy it?
100%.
I mean, it would probably
Yeah.
be a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, but
like,
they could give people like a deal, and I think that would incentivize people to join being Jackbox fans, and then that would hook then future buyers for future packs. And then they would also get everybody who's already bought packs to rebuy the packs again.
making my ass
Yeah.
fucking memorize what's in what party pack.
Yeah,
yeah.
right. But like I just think that people are all about convenience these days, and like everybody's so used to little microtransactions all the time that it wouldn't even like people would just, I think, completely fall over themselves to buy a consolidated pack.
I know it's a dirty word, and generally speaking, they don't work out. But I think if Jackbox was a live service game, it would work out. Like it would absolutely. If they made it so that way it was just one game, and then you just kept on buying the games for that pack, and that you just had your own customized Jackbox, like that just makes sense to me.
You shut your bitch mouth.
Okay, fair
How
enough.
dare you? Live service. Get out.
Did you complete the season pass for Jackbox yet?
I do want one more thing too, that they do have a Jackbox Party starter that they came out with last year, and it's like a much cheaper game that allows that like is like a collection of 3 games that like it's Quiplash 3, Trivia Murder Party 2, and TKO, and it's a $20 game versus the $30 that they usually charge. And it's just this little like smaller thing for people to kind of experience and get like see if they like these type of games, and then they could go into buying the major packs. Like I think that's a good idea. Although I kind of wish they just made it for free, but whatever, capitalism. There you go, perfect.
Mid-seg.
All right, it's our final mid seg until we change things up here. Walsh, what is the journey that I'm about to go on?
So I've prepared something special. I've gotten everyone else on board to help me out with this. They'll all be playing parts. I did have a part for Gabe, but I will be having Matt play that part for us. I've shared a script with everybody. I was going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to just share bits for you, Chris, or just share the document. I think I'm just going to share the document. And I think it'll be easy and just the most, the cleanest way to do it, to let you follow along. But essentially, I've crafted a video game style game where you can go from place to place. You'll have an inventory, you'll have options, and I will be playing the narrator as well as any other very minor roles as well. Everybody else is on board and ready. I'll reshare the document here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just to talk about a little bit, because we're at the end of the show, I was going to talk a little bit more about what we are planning to do in the future. But one of the ideas that I had was turning the mid-seg into an entire podcast. And we're calling it a mini game. Is the name of that type of show. And this is exactly the stuff that I'd be so down to record. Like.
So everybody here has some lines. Chris, you have a couple of lines here at the beginning, as the player of the game. And there are points where there will be parts that have a little arrow next to it that are bolded. These are options that could come up in the game that could be selected. If at any point, let's say you select option A, and then we go through the dialogue at option A, think of it as you go back to those options. You pick a different one, unless it says otherwise. Just didn't feel the need to completely keep putting the same options over and over in the document. You know,
Yeah,
if it's like,
fair enough.
yeah, would you like to go to room A or room B? And you go to room A, and it's like room A is empty. Would you like to go to room A or room B?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, sounds good.
Everybody's ready?
I got you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cock-a-doodle-doo! The sound of a farm bird wakes you up early in the morning. Far too early to get out of bed now, you think. But wait, you don't remember falling asleep on a farm. In fact, you don't remember falling asleep with wings, but there they are. You've turned into a bird.
Well, cock-a-doodle, howdy do. You must be the new bird in the gaming coop.
I thought it was pronounced co-op.
Like the video game term?
No, like when multiple people own a complex. Yes, like video games. What am I doing here? Who are you?
My name's Kelsey, and I'm a quail bird. As for what you're doing here, I'm not sure, but feel free to explore. If you're lost, you can check back with me, or if you're bored, I've got some work that needs done around the coop. You can head to the barn, the lake, or the cornfields.
Your options here are go to the barn, go to the lake, go to the cornfield, or speak with Kelsey.
All right. Usually in games, I would just go right to speaking with Kelsey, but I feel like I need to get comfortable with just exploring. So let's go to the barn.
Barn, sure. Go to the barn. As you approach the barn, a large corn silo towers next to it. In the barn is an old, rusty tractor. Next to the tractor is a red cardinal bird. Your options here are speak to the cardinal, look at the tractor, look at the corn silo, or leave.
Let's look at some things first before speaking. Let's look at the tractor.
Sure, look at the tractor. Sorry, I gotta go down. Looks like this tractor hasn't been used in a long time. Out of gas, no battery. Also, there's no front wheel. On the seat sits a big bag of bird seed, strapped in the seatbelt. Open the seatbelt, use item, or leave.
I am going to. I don't see a use for the item right now, so I'm just gonna kind of leave it right
Sure.
now. So I'll go to the corn side, or look at the
Look at the corn
silo.
silo. That thing sure is tall, almost like it's ready to tip over at any second. Good thing that won't happen.
Okay, all right. I'll speak to the cardinal.
Did you hear that? You have to be careful. The monolith is always watching, creeping. If you look away for too long, you can hear the corn. It's closer now than the last time I've looked at it. I know it. Be careful of corn silos. Oh, and I'm Matt, by the way. Think you can help me with something?
Your options are yes or no.
Yes.
Sweet. I'd love some birdseed, but I'm a little busy keeping my eyes peeled. There's a bag of birdseed strapped in the tractor. I've tried to do it on my own, but my little wings can't get the bag free. Think you can take a look?
Sure. And then I go back to the tractor and I grab I use item.
Use item. You have no items at this time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that meant use the. All right, open the
Open
seatbelt.
seatbelt. Try as you may, your little wings are too small to get the seatbelt unstuck. Might need a tool for this one.
Okay. Well then I don't have any items, so I think I have to leave.
Sure.
For now.
Your options are go to
Yeah.
the lake, go to the cornfield, or go back to the coop.
Let's go back. Let's go to the lake.
Sure. Let's go to the lake. You approach.
I love the transition.
You approach a very calm lake. The warm air attracts all sorts of critters to the water. The tall grass sways in the air around it. A peacock is looking down into the water. A kiwi bird sits on the shore of the lake, staring longingly into the distance. Next to the kiwi is an old tractor tire. Options are look into the lake, talk to the peacock, talk to the kiwi, or leave.
Let's look into the
Look
lake.
into the lake. The water is so calm you can see your reflection crystal clear. You're a penguin? You wonder if it's a good idea for a penguin to be living on a farm, but you've made it this far.
Okay, let's talk to the peacock.
The peacock seems to be staring deeply, admiring its own reflection. Name's Walsh. Can't talk. Editing. Peacock takes one feather on its head, moves it to the other side, and considers it for a long time.
Okay, I'll talk to the kiwi.
Have you ever looked down at the world and wondered what could be? To be designed to be a bird with no flight capabilities. God laughs at our plans. But I've never dreamt of flying. only exploring the seas. I have my ship here, but I need a sail to dream of further horizons, to leave the coop for bigger things. Do you ever have dreams of being something or someone bigger and grander than you
It's
already
a
are?
yes or no.
Yes.
You hunger for the unknown, like me. I like you. The name's Anthony. If you can find me a sail and venture with me, I promise the experience alone will be worth it. And I'll even give you something cool I found.
Okay. I don't have anything yet.
And then you're just back at the options of look into the lake, talk to the peacock, talk to the kiwi, or leave.
All right, let's leave. Let's go to the cornfield.
Cornfield. All right. You make your way to the large cornfield. It seems these fields go far and wide. The serene scene is interrupted by a small black corvid. You
Fuck
see
you.
the corvid is yelling at a person standing in the field. No, not standing. More crucified? His face has a bag over it. His belly is stuffed with hay and an old bed sheet. And the wood that holds it up is new and sturdy.
You see this guy? I hate him. Thinks he can keep all the corn to himself. Like he's made to scare crows. What a
Your options
prick.
are look at the scarecrow, look at the corn, talk to the corvid, or leave.
I'm gonna look at the
Standing
scarecrow.
here is old work clothes stuffed with hay, rags, and an old bed sheet. It's tied to wood that looks rather nice and new. The scarecrow stands triumphantly over his cornfield, as if to say, "Don't touch my corn, bro."
Okay, so I see the bed sheet there. All right. Well, I guess my only options right now is
Sure.
to look at the corn and then
Freshly
talk to the
grown,
corvid.
the corn looks delicious. If only you can get around him.
All right, let's talk to the corvid.
Hey, I'm Gabe, and this guy's the worst. He never moves. He's super creepy, and he's selfish. He thinks he can watch over all this corn. He can't eat it all. What about the rest of us? You know what we should
Options
do?
are
Let's
yes or
kill
no.
him.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Yes, we're gonna get along great. You should go up and do something to him. Why not me? Definitely not because I'm scared. So go. I'll be here.
You look. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that. So you can go look at the scarecrow, look at the corn.
Yeah.
And talk to the corvid again.
All right. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go up to the scarecrow and try to take
Sure.
something. I want
You
to
look,
take the
you
bed
look for the
sheet. Where is the
scarecrow's
bed
weak
sheet
spot.
posted again?
What to do? Your options are go for the legs,
Okay.
go for the gut, go for the post, or ask him politely to leave.
Okay. I am gonna go. I guess the post because that's what it's standing on. So I'll
You
try to knock the
peck and
post
peck,
out.
but man, this wood is hard. Probably use this wood for other things, but for now, this just won't do. Turn to your last choice.
Yeah. Fuck. All right. Let's go for the gut.
You go to peck the scarecrow's gut, and you notice the old bed sheet sticking out of its gut. You reach in and pull it out, and in one fell swoop, all of the insides of the scarecrow fall apart. Bed sheet added to inventory. The scarecrow is no
Hell
more.
yeah.
All that stands now is the post he was once tied to.
Haha, you did it, sucking bitch. The corn is all ours. This is fantastic. I'm gonna take all the corn I can carry and bring it by the coop tonight. As for the post that held them up, that one looks pretty good. Could use it to build something. It's all yours if you can get it out.
Okay.
Now you can
Uh,
look to the scarecrow, look at the corn, talk to the corvid, or leave.
So
Have the
wait,
bed
do I
sheet
have
in
the
your
bed sheet
inventory.
now? I did. Okay. All right. I don't think I need anything else. So I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna
The barn, the
head
lake, or the
back to the lake, and I'm going to hand the bed sheet to the
Sure.
kiwi.
My friend, what is that you have there? Why, it's a sail! Would you allow me the pleasure of using that sheet to
Sir, no.
venture the seas?
Yes.
Good gravy, my good man.
The small kiwi bird
Fantastic.
looks quickly. He grabs a nearby stick and ties the bed sheet to the tire. Soon, the kiwi bird has a large floating barge with the sail strapped to the top. Bed sheet has been removed from inventory.
Thank you, friend. Once you're done looking around the farm, meet me at the coop. It's late enough in the day. If you choose, I'd love to travel at dawn. Here, take the
Shovel has
shovel
been
I
added to
found.
inventory. The Kiwi excitedly moves the boat into the tall grass for safety and sits down again on the beach, now with a twinkle in his eye.
Hell yeah, I love this. All right, I'm gonna go. I have one quest that I know of right now, so I'm gonna go back to the barn.
Back to the barn with the. You can also
And
go to the coop as well.
I could go to the coop. Okay, let's go to the coop.
Sure.
Let's
you go to the coop. Let's see. Your options are go to the barn, go to the lake, go to the cornfield, or speak with Kelsey.
Let's speak with Kelsey.
Howdy do.
Your options
How can I help
how
you?
can I help around the coop? What's a quail doing on a farm? I'm lost, or never mind.
How can I help around the coop?
Well, the roof of the coop's been breaking apart. I need some materials, wood and nails to be exact. For now, you can hold on to
Hammer
this until
has
it's
been
all
added to
fixed.
inventory.
Oh, okay. I think I know where wood and nails are. Maybe I'm going to go to the cornfields,
cornfield.
and I'm going to
So
beat the
you
shit out of the
selecting
scarecrow.
look at Scarecrow. You go there. Let's see. Sorry. You then have the choice. Let's see. You could also I wanted to say too, at any point you could try re-talking to any of the characters as well. So selecting,
Okay,
you look at
fair enough.
the Scarecrow. All that stands now. Sorry, all that it stands now is the wood that held it in place. You can use item or leave.
Could I get the wood? Is there or like?
Yeah,
So I would have to use an
item or
item to
leave.
do that, right? All right. So
Yes.
if the wood's in the ground, right?
Yep, it would
So would
automatically.
I just use a shovel?
You pull out your trusty hammer
dig it out?
and wonder why would something like this work here. So you pull out your shovel and dig out the wood from the ground.
Okay.
Wood has been
Cool.
Wood has been added
Does
to
it
your
have
inventory.
nails on it? Okay. Let's. All right. I have a hammer. I have.
You have a
I'm not good
hammer.
with
You
inventory
have
management.
wood.
Um.
And you have a shovel.
Also, Chris, just as a reminder from what Walsh said before, also, anytime that you interact with something, even if you like get something new, you always have the option to speak again or interact with an object again.
They're saying this because I gave them a little extra dialogue in case you tried to
I'm
talk.
clear.
Yeah, like just in case, if you wanted to poke around, you can.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember if there's
you were
something
at
that
the
I am
barn
missing.
and you tried to get the seed from the seed belt, but you did not have an item to use. You can always.
What was wrong with the
your little
seatbelt again?
feathers, your little wings were not strong enough to do anything. They have to use an item there. You could also always go
I
speak with
see.
Kelsey for a hint.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the coop and ask for.
Okay, I'm lost.
I'd say I'm lost.
Let's go to the narrator for a hint.
Well,
Narrator?
there is a bag of birdseed that is sitting in the tractor that our cardinal friend would always love to have.
Okay, I mean, I guess I already have my item then. I guess that's where my confusion is.
Ask another hint. Say that you're lost again.
I'm lost.
Let's go to the narrator for a hint.
Why don't you try using an item on the tractor?
Okay, fuck me. All right,
Say that you're lost again.
I'm lost.
Let's go to the narrator for a hint. Narrator?
Fuck. All right.
Just something.
All right. All right. I'm going back to the barn, and then I'm going to use a hammer on the seatbelt.
Look at the tractor. It looks like the tractor hasn't been used in a long time. Out of gas, no battery. Also, there's no front wheel. On the seat sits a a bag of birdseed strapped in the seatbelt. If you'd like to open seatbelt, use item, or leave.
I said I couldn't, so I could not open the
And then you
seatbelt
tried
my
to
tiny
use-
feathers. So
Sounded like you said
And then you
kitty
tried to use
feathers.
item, but you had no
yeah. So
You very
Right, so use
precisely
item
smashed
hammer.
the seatbelt with your hammer. Bird seed has been added to your inventory.
okay. I just didn't think that a hammer would work for some reason, but I'm happy we got there. All right. So then I take some boots.
Your options are now speak to the cardinal, look at the tractor, look at the corn silo, or leave.
Let's go to our cardinal friend. Speak to the cardinal.
Oh, sweet! These are delicious. Thank you. Don't know if it'll do you any good, but here's some nails I pulled out of the corn silo support beams. These things are sharp. In the hands of a corn silo, that could have been dangerous.
Bird seed
That's
has been
to know that we're
removed from
safe
your
now,
inventory.
right?
Nails added to inventory.
Perfect. I am going to go to the coop. And
With
I am
Kelsey.
going to speak with Kelsey.
Howdy do. How can I help you?
I give the wood and nails. Use item.
I don't want that.
You're
shit.
breaking the algorithm! Go to page 7!
No. Chris, you have specific options. You got to play the game.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well,
All right,
I think he
so
selected speak with Kelsey.
so I spoke with Kelsey.
Narrator. Right. So, howdy do. How can I help you?
So then, do I?
There is
Isn't there an option
for
for
how,
use item?
how can I help around
Oh,
the
I'm
coop?
sorry.
Uh,
Oh, how can I help? How can I help around the coop?
The roof of the coop's been breaking apart. I need some materials. Wooden nails to be exact. For now, you can hold on to this until it's all fixed. I didn't have a
so if you
prompt
go
to
to
like do
page
anything,
7,
say anything differently.
Oh,
it goes back to the coop. Right, you have the option speak with Kelsey, I'm lost, or never mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now my turn.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I was on the first page. My word, you've got it. Do you want to fix the roof with me
Yes or
now?
no?
It'll probably take us the rest of the day.
Yes.
All right.
You and
Get
Kelsey
that
begin
hammer
work.
ready and let's
You
get
move up to
started.
the top of the chicken coop with the materials in hand. Kelsey directs, knowing where the holes are, and holds the wood in place. You, like a mighty Norse god, swing your hammer down, putting nails in place, and together, you fix the gaming coop one plank at a time. This takes longer than you'd think, considering neither of you have opposable thumbs. Soon enough, the evening comes around. All the other birds return to the coop. A corvid, a peacock, a kiwi, a cardinal. Strange bird coop indeed. They are all blown away by your hard work. It's as pretty as me.
That roof looks great.
It creates an order and structure to protect us from the elements. We can now live without worry.
Bitchin'.
I couldn't have done it without the newest member of the coop. I have
Please
to
share your
ask, what was your favorite part of the day?
Everything. Spending time in the coop and helping out my fellow birds.
Ha ha! Sounds like you had a blast.
I brought corn for everyone if you're all interested. It's right outside.
You and
That's
the rest of
mighty
the birds
kind.
all
Let's
step
go
outside
eat.
eating your spoils. After a hard day's work, exploring the farm, helping your new friends, and fixing the coop, a good meal is well deserved.
I feel like I'm forgetting something.
You look at the fixed bird coop.
Yeah, I'm sure
You
it's
went through
fine.
so much today. Why, it feels like only this morning, boom! The corn silo tips over, falling onto the bird coop. The house explodes into a million pieces.
I fucking knew it.
Well,
Aw.
ain't that just the
All right,
way?
Chris, your options are
Damn, what are we
rebuild
gonna
and
do?
make a bigger one, or set sail for the seas.
Oh fuck yeah! I'm gonna say set sail for the seas.
That is a great idea.
You and your friends take the night
Adventure
to
is
gather
out
your
there.
things and rest. Tomorrow is a big day. At dawn, you all make your way to the lake.
I've mapped out the area. The lake connects to a river, and then the river empties out into the coastline. We ride that or get as far as we can. Either way, it will be a new experience.
No longer will that silo hang over me. I will feel free.
Friends, I've never been off the farm, but every bird has to learn how to fly
The
sometime.
large tractor tire is
Vision.
big enough to fit everyone's little bird bodies. Ready the sails and start to push the makeshift ship into the water.
Friend, out of anywhere
Please
in the
describe
world,
in detail
where do you want to
go.
travel?
Oh fuck. Uh. Somewhere that uh somewhere that we all can just live life happy away from capitalism.
Beautiful. I'm sure we'll make it.
You all hop aboard.
Let's
and the
go.
breeze brings you through the water. In the end, you're not sure how you got here. You're not entirely sure what we do here, but you feel happy you could be a part of it. It seems there is a new chapter ahead waiting for you, and you won't be doing it alone. Your friends are happy you're here, and you're happy they're here too. The end.
Why am I crying?
I know, me too.
Jesus fucking Christ!
That I gotta say, we have had many great mid-segs on this show. I think this is the best.
No, this one's
he's-
Well, I wanna-
100%.
yeah.
he's-
This was
I heard a little bit. I want to give it
I
up to you
clapped,
guys
but
for
it
doing
didn't
such a
come up.
great job. I really love the characters that you brought to life. A little bit too much to life. It felt like they were really trying to break out of their restraints. Like they were gaining sentience a little bit too well. You guys did a fantastic job. Oh,
I would love
I will,
to go
I'll
into
let
more
you
detail.
look through this another
at
time.
some
There were
point.
some options that you
but
didn't get the chance to pick. But
yeah. Right. Yeah. The problem is I mainline games sometimes.
you were trying
so
to find the speedrun strat.
that's kind of what happened here a bit. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah. No. Awesome job. Great job, everyone.
I appreciated being able to be an NPC, like the trend that's happening right now.
Oh my god. See, I prefer this kind of NPC rather than.
I really wanted to just keep repeating my lines.
That's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair.
That was
All
so
right.
special, and so much love was put into that.
Yeah, I loved it very much. So I got for some reason I got very choked up at the end. And now it's my turn to talk about my favorite game. Yeah, like we've talked about earlier, like none of this is locked in. I don't know for sure if this is my favorite game of all time, but it is one of my favorites, and it all kind of stemmed from this year essentially. That game is Rhythm Heaven Fever. So Rhythm Heaven is a franchise that kind of passed me by a bit because I had it on DS, but didn't love it. I found it way too difficult for me, just didn't really enjoy the gameplay of it, and so I just was kind of like, all right, this is just not a franchise for me. And then earlier this year, the eShop for the 3DS was shutting down, and one of the games that were available to purchase was Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, which I had seen a playthrough on before, or at least a little bit of a playthrough, and I was just kind of like, you know what? I might as well give this another shot. Let's see if I end up loving this game. And I fell so hard deep into this game and absolutely loved it. And I then was like, you know what? I love this one so much. Let's just go back and figure out ways to play the older ones. And so I figured out a way to totally get Rhythm Heaven Fever legally, totally. And was decided to, hey, let's let's see if the like I was worried about the Wii version of the game because this is the Wii game version of Rhythm Heaven. I was just like, oh god, there's probably like motion controls and stuff. Turns out no motion control for this game. It is just clicking the A and B button on the Wii remote. And it is, if you don't know what Rhythm Heaven is and how the gameplay works, essentially you are presented with these cute little scenarios. Whether you're a golfer that monkeys are helping you golf, or you are you are on a double date and you're helping out these other these little cute animals that are also dating with you not be like hit by any of the balls that are coming their way. So you're kicking like soccer balls out of the way, basketball out of the way, things like that. And like you're just put into these situations, but they all have a specific rhythm to them, and you go through like a little bit of a practice period to learn exactly what to look out for, and then you're placed in the song, and you have to just kind of listen to sound cues, listen to or watch how the scenes play out to kind of know when to hit certain buttons. And initially I looked at it and I was just like, "Fuck that! That sounds incredibly difficult." Um, but again, through Mega Mix and then playing Fever, I got over that real quick. It just took a lot of practice and a lot. I kind of the reason why I wanted to keep on pushing through was because of how much I absolutely adored the aesthetic of these games. These are bright, colorful, absolutely silly games that are just like the epitome of like what Nintendo has kind of done over the years anyways, that they just have a hallmark for this. And then they have amazing music. Like it is just the soundtrack to all the like the entire series is just so very good. And I think that while Fever is not the most approachable of the Rhythm Heaven games, I think Mega Mix kind of is like the champion for that. I think Fever just has the highs of the franchise. It is a game where every single situation that you're put in is just delight after another. And you have you basically you start out by playing four of these mini games, and then you play something called a remix, and the remix is basically a song that is playing for a short period of time, and during that time, you are playing each of the four games over the span of the remix. And it is definitely challenging, but it's also incredibly fun and is some of the most hype things that I've experienced in games, to be honest. Like it is just so much fun to have like experience these mini games at their base version and then see them get translated into these like super rad like music videos that you are now like just bouncing between them, and being able to have that flow of going from different scenarios and being able to still hit every single prompt, there is no prompt in the game really. It's just, again, it's a lot of just keeping in mind audio cues and what you're used to seeing in the scene. Like if you're able to keep up with that, it is incredibly rewarding and so much fun. I got so addicted to these games. I like Mega Mix is the one I've played the most, but the reason why Fever just stands out more is just like I want to one day be able to say like I 100% remix or rather Fever, because there's just so much fun to be had with all the mini games that they had, with the remixes hitting like really top tier moments, and getting the perfect in these like you have there is a moment in some of these games where or in all of them I should say, where hey, this game here you can go for a perfect, and then you go in and you have to hit every single note correctly, and if you do that you get like a little reward for it, as well as like a medal that said like, hey, you got perfect in this. I've gotten like nearly every perfect in Megamix. There's just a few outliers that I have left, but Fever is still a work in progress. But it is, I want to do it because it just is so satisfying. Even if you lose over and over again, you had the joy of watching these scenes play out again, watching listening to the songs again. There's just something that is so completely delightful about it. And I can go into that. There's quite a few of those the games in and Fever that are among my favorites in the entire series. But I just kind of want to read the room real quick. How many of you here have played or just in any way experienced Rhythm Heaven?
I have it downloaded on my 3DS.
Perfect. Sounds good.
One
Anyone
day,
else?
soon.
Does Elite Beat Agents count?
I mean, it's a good game as far as I've heard. But no, I I don't think it's in that franchise.
Okay, then no.
It sounds like my absolute nightmare.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
But I also feel like I would get really, if I actually gave it a chance, I would get like super into it and then like probably lose my job because I would like be so hooked and not want to break away and want to perfect all of it. But I also
Yeah.
have a thing with like timing in games and they just make me have a panic attack. So, but it looks super cute and it's like possibly the most crisp game that I've ever seen as far as like aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because there are other games that also possibly fit that category, but this takes it.
Yep. Very much so. Yeah, I am like it is I'm sad almost that I did not fall in love with these games sooner, but at the same time I would be feeling the pain that Rhythm Heaven fans currently have, which is there hasn't been a game in a long time and there may never be another game. And so, I'm glad that I did get to experience them all now, so they're fresh in my mind and I want to just play these games right now instead of like necessarily like longing for another entry, even though at some point I'm gonna long for another entry, I'm sure. But I'm glad to hear that no one knows, or that for the most part, people know little bits about it, but not a whole lot. Because I showed some shared some videos with you guys. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but just some of my favorite games, kind of in conjunction with each other, is Flock Step and Flipper Flop. It basically both games have to do with like syncing up with other animals in the game. In these games, Flockstep, you are a pink bird that's trying to blend in with the other pink birds as they march together, and it's super cute and it gets wild as more birds crowd the screen. And then Flipper Flop is just a seal, like a seal, a literal seal team, like basically like practicing their moves together, which is just them rolling around in the snow, and it's just fucking adorable, and I absolutely love it. And there's so many others. Like the one that I mentioned earlier about like the golf one, which is like the very first game you're introduced to, is a very much a favorite. And then there's also Karate Joe, who is a staple throughout the franchise. Karate Joe is just it's basically you are a guy that is just punching pots over and over. But over the years, that has evolved into doing other things with Karate Joe. Karate Joe also happens to have some of the best music in the franchise. In this game, I don't know what the actual like title of the song is, but it's just this rock song that is this man that's just this guy that's just singing "I'm just a man missing you," and it's just super hype all it is that is standing in front of you and sitting in front of you is just a guy punching pots over and over again. But it is also still so much fun. It is incredible. And I just had a lot of fun with
Chris,
it. Yes.
which one of those mini games would you say is your favorite?
Of those three, I would say Flockstep. I really really love Flockstep. And then like there's again I could go on and on. Like I might do at the end of the year a Rhythm Heaven like broader thing and talk about all the games. I'm trying to focus mainly on Fever right now, but yeah, no, Flockstep I think I would say for me is my favorite. Um, but I think I have pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. My favorite remix of Fever is Remix 9, which is very, if you watched it at all or if you experienced it at all, it is very reminiscent of Persona in a lot of ways in terms of the music stylings, and the aesthetic is very like reminiscent of like Persona 5 because of the colors. But it is easily my favorite remix of the entire franchise. It's just because the song is so good, and there's just moments in that remix that are just really fun to play. There's one moment where like there's a mini game where you're like screwing on robot heads, and each time you complete one, the little robots go, "Oh yeah," and they do my. I don't know why I love this, and it makes me so giddy, but during the song, once it hits like the peak right before it goes into the chorus, you screw on the robot head and it zooms in on the robot. He goes, "Oh yeah," and it cuts to the next like big epic part of the song. And I just fucking lose it. I love it so much. I have a love for this game that I don't know. I don't think at other games. I don't think I had that love for other games as much. But I just want to do one more thing before we close out.
Can you say "oh yeah" like that one more time? Because I
Oh
really
yeah.
like. Yeah.
Oh
It's cool.
yeah. Well, it is. I want you guys to experience a remix real quick.
Oh,
But
okay.
you guys don't have to do anything. You guys don't have to touch anything. Because I know that would be very concerning. So instead, I want you guys to just watch me do a remix, and I want you guys to shoutcast it for the podcast. I just want you guys just to describe this insanity of it. It is not Remix 9. It is the infamous Remix 10 of Rhythm Heaven Fever. I just want you guys to just, from your own eyes, see what this game
I
does
have a
to me.
very important question. Are you going to be able to hear us during it?
I'm going to, yes, I'm going to, which is going to make it more difficult for me.
Yes.
But I will take the ramifications. I think it will be funnier to see me fuck up. So without any further ado, I'm just gonna go live real quick. If anyone can watch, I think I have it open.
There it
If
is.
you guys, and let me know once everyone is all set. All right, everyone's in.
Now, are you gonna share your camera so we can watch you, like your face, and just you physically struggle to keep up?
I don't think Chris physically changes that much when he does things.
No.
It's a little
think he should
funny.
be
It gets a
using
little
the-
funny.
I think you
Okay.
should be using the Xbox Connect.
I'll give you a verbal fuck, maybe. Like that's
Okay.
that's
That's
probably
good
what we
Oh,
hear.
what
All right.
what is shoutcasting?
I say shoutcasting. It's like commentary. You're just
Okay.
yeah. You're just like, hey, what you're just describing what's happening to in front of you. Really,
Gotcha.
is that's
We're
how
all
I see
doing
it.
that all at the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
That,
All
you guys work together, to create the story of what you're about to watch. All right.
right. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we return back at the gaming coop to watch Christopher move through Remix 10. How's my other hosts doing here today?
Doing great.
Nervous.
You were starting in an office with a lot of boxes. Can only imagine.
Oh, I see
So
a
many
lot of
hands.
hands.
A lot
I
of
don't like that.
Oh, spider. Oh, candy. Oh, spider.
Catch
Oh,
the
candy.
candies, bat the spider.
Double up.
It appears to be
Candy,
a
spider.
Candy.
candy packaging factory with a spider infestation.
Oh, yeah. There's.
Oh,
Oh,
goodness.
oh my God! This is like a horror
Goodness.
film.
Yep.
There
Okay.
was
So we had
shrimp
and
prawns
now-
for a bit, and now pigs spinning
Pigs at a
chairs.
business meeting.
with mustaches.
Wait a minute. You're a plankton now.
Little swimmy plankton
They're
babies.
very happy.
That's you.
Oh,
I didn't even know how to get the rhythm on that one.
muskrats and
Oh my goodness.
ball.
Okay, wait. We're on a blimp.
Oh, is that an octopus stuck to the
They're
bottom?
farting.
I saw this on the Rich Eisen show.
There's gas happening.
Whoa!
Little orange peas being stabbed with a little trident fork.
The
That's
peas
not
are
a
coming
fork, that's a
very
3.
fast. Now it's cats and dogs playing racquetball on planes. Oh no!
Anime
We're in a
school.
Nice.
library with a lot of yelling girls.
That's not where you hold up signs.
Oh, when he punches the wiener, he gets buff.
I do have to say, Chris is doing a good job so far. He's not quite messed up yet,
Oh,
but I feel like I
samurai.
should
Samurai
say that.
Jack,
I love the little birds.
little flamingo
That's a good
orb.
dancing.
This is me when I've had too much caffeine. Little pegs and
Nice.
this is yikes.
Shooting the peg.
Very, very well done.
Little
Building
robot,
robots. in.
screwy little robot, little hearts.
What do they say? Oh yeah.
Fleshy Pikmin.
Oh, Chris is yeah, fleshy Pikmin. He's getting hit by blocks and
Yep.
cubes and
Doing
Oh, the
good.
golf one.
Still doing good so
Oh,
far
it's-
though.
The Lion King.
Not every
golf.
Rafiki is a lion king.
Yes.
All right, we got a
teeter
seesaw.
totter gymnasts.
Nice.
Little gymnasts.
I love that tempo variation there.
Monkeys on a clock.
Oh, punk monkeys.
They high five
Monkeys.
faster. It looks like.
Monkeys.
Oh,
Oh,
they're
we're
fishing
fishing.
now.
Now this girl is.
He's tonguing the
tongue
worm.
Oh,
action.
that-
that
missed me.
picture
Missed
is
me.
getting very
It's
uncomfortable.
The guy
baseball
on
and
the
the
right
yellow
has to
team
pee.
caked up.
Oh man, he just hit us with that baseball.
Fuck.
Christopher's
little
getting
rockets
fresh
Nice,
with
there you
the
go.
rocket launches.
Oh,
Hey, it's
okay.
Jet Set Radio.
White
Into you.
rappers. White rappers. I
Oh,
hope they're white.
It's all about you.
That was a nice rhythm. Monkey.
Monkey
Yeah.
with the cymbals.
That's a
It's
tambourine,
symbolic.
Anthony.
Isn't just a tambourine a collection of symbols?
Yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you.
symbols don't have the membrane.
Really, any language is a
On-
collection of symbols.
Well, when you put it that
Aw,
way.
It's Leo's. What, this guy does the
Now it's
tarot
karate
Just a
Joe.
man missing you.
This guy looks
And
like
breaking all my
he
Oh,
bones.
yeah,
in
Chris.
the morning.
Shit.
Nicely done.
Test in progress.
Oh,
Sweaty wrestler.
Sweat,
He
sweat.
is very sweaty. I don't even know what Chris is
Oh,
doing.
fans,
pose.
yeah. Oh, goodness.
Are these little eggs?
Chris, what are you doing in these
Little
scary
eggs
places?
in an egg
This factory, this
person?
Oh,
man
here
is
it goes.
jumping from
Isn't
place
this
to
the
place.
scene with Javert in
We're back at the
Miz.
candy
Back in the
factory,
where he
folks.
ends things, or
yes, where he ends
Oh,
things. That's what he was
no.
doing just before.
oh god.
No spiders in the candy
Back-
box.
All right,
No
we have
spiders.
looped back around back to the candy and the spiders.
I
Why are
want to
they
know
in
how long
cubicles,
these
though?
people's arms are. They seem very long. I don't feel like they're just off screen. Is that it? No, it's
Nope.
not.
No, they're back. They
Double
just
up.
took their
Back
lunch.
to the spiders. Oh,
Oh,
something
it's
else there.
flowers.
The
Is it like a little Valentine's
Flowers.
Day factory? Little candies and booklets?
Is that like a fuck you? Like,
Yeah,
oh, you thought you were done?
That could have been better.
Yeah, it was a fake out at the end.
Okay.
All right. So
Wow.
I will say, from practicing this, you gotta just take my word for it. I was superb beforehand, but the word, the talking in the background definitely threw me off.
Oh, I'm sure.
But,
It looks
Considering we
tough.
fuck up the rhythm.
but yes, we're good. And that's it. That was remix 10.
That was good.
Yeah, that is my second favorite remix I think in the entire franchise. It is very good, and it is just that it's just joy and chaos, and yet you would think for something that is as chaotic as it is in a video game, you would not think that would be for me. But there's just something about it that just brings so much joy that I was able to push through the chaos and control it a lot better.
It's a good art style and it doesn't require you to lie. So I think that's what.
Boom! There you go. You got it. You nailed it. Absolutely.
What do you mean it doesn't require you to lie?
Well, when Chris is placed in stressful situations which require him to fib.
I
Yeah.
see. I thought-
Yeah, it's the kind of chaos that is like digestible for Chris.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. We have two more games to talk about. We're gonna and I want to emphasize that these next two games are the games that have been talked about the most in the history of the gaming coop. We're gonna start with the second most talked about game.
this should be relatively quick, right? Because
Yeah, right, yeah.
I feel going into it, honestly. So we're gonna see.
That's maybe we'll see. Kelsey, you're
Yeah.
up first. You're gonna talk about your favorite game of all time, at least what it is right now, Stardew Valley.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little hard for me to pick, but then I figured that the most appropriate thing would be to see what did I discuss the most, what is frequently at the top of my thoughts box, if you will. And it's Stardew Valley because it's an incredible game. I feel like there's almost not much more that I can say about it, because when I do talk about any of the games in this format of the Coop, I talk forever. And so I've definitely said a substantial amount about this already. Quick recap: released in 2016 on Windows, shortly thereafter on other platforms, by Concerned Ape, the developer. And it's just, to me, it is like the epitome of cozy game that I have. It's like what food do you go to eat when you don't feel well? What shows are your comfort shows? Your favorite set of pajamas that are just like the ultimate cozy pajamas. This is my ultimate cozy game. I can play it solo and enjoy all aspects of it, but lately I've been doing a lot more co-op, and I think that there are benefits and negatives to, or pros and cons, if you will, to playing co-op, but I've lately been feeling like there's such a huge benefit, and mostly because it's like you're just among friends and you're all working together to make this little farm work in this quirky town. And just, I don't know, it's just, to me, it is like there can be conflict, there are some enemies, there are absolutely ways that you can die or screw up, and fine, but at the end of the day, you go to bed, hopefully by 2 a.m. so that you don't run into any trouble, and you wake up the next day and you just start all over. And every single day you get to make a choice. Every single day you get to influence the game the way that you'd like. you can just choose to wake up every single day and just go fishing and just max out your fishing early game and just do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can, and you can have 100 different save files and live 100 different lives in the scope of this series. And I think that to me is just brilliant. I think that it is, as most people know, it is a single person's blood, sweat, tears, and love that went into the creation of this game and this story. And I just think that everything that was brought to the table, the graphics, the soundtracks, the storylines, the narratives, I had a brief interaction earlier today with a character that literally made me cry because it's just so poignant and gentle and warm and friendly and wonderful that there's so much of that not in our world and in our day to day that when you can find beautiful, pure media that allows you to experience that, I think that it's just so worth doing a deep dive into. And I am so looking forward to Concerned Apes Haunted Chocolatier, which is definitely years away. Especially because Concerned Ape is also working on another unnamed project at the same time, which I'm interested in hearing about. But I just feel like I would touch and play anything that Concerned Ape makes at this point. Like, the game is such a powerhouse, such an incredible story. Just, I can't say any more about it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony and I have had the pleasure of playing the co-op with you the last couple of days, and I think it has convinced me that I want to really give this game a try. And I think the best way to do that is to just follow through on the co-op and complete the farm and work together on it. Because I think I find Stardew Valley very intimidating. And well, I know the pressure is not really on in the game. I've talked about it on the podcast before about not being as into the, like, hey, you have days that are on, like, it's not synced up to real time like an Animal Crossing. You do have these days that come and go, and you just have what you can do that day, and then you go to bed and you get up the next day to do the next set of things that you want to do. And I think that I've gotten with this latest session that we've been playing, I've gotten more into the like routine of it and understanding, like, okay, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna make sure to water the plants, and then whatever task that Kelsey or Anthony need me to do, I'll be prepared to do it pretty much. And like, just knowing that that's my routine for the most part, like, it just, there's something about that is very fun and very inviting, and like, I think like I felt very cozy playing it with you guys in that sense. Like,
Well,
so to me, it's
you also were literally like, I had put the fireplace display on, you were wrapped in a blanket, tucked in the
yes,
corner, so you
oh,
were
absolutely,
literally cozy. The candles were on, like,
absolutely,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
I don't just game. I make sure that there is an ambiance in the room when we
oh,
game.
absolutely,
So,
yeah,
but I
100%.
think that speaks also directly kind of to what I was trying to highlight earlier that Gabe said too. Like, and recognize that combat is not something that you're interested in doing and that you're very intimidated. And even, I mean, there are parts of the game that are super dark and frightening and violent. So, like,
Yeah.
it is a cozy game, and those things don't happen often. But if you're playing solo and you need to make progress, specifically like in the mines, you kind of have to do that eventually.
Right,
Or you
exactly.
just can't progress the way. Or I guess technically you could play and never do that ever. And I don't really know if, I think you could probably figure out, you might have a slower time of having to like do and get through certain tasks. But if you really
Right.
wanted to, I think you probably could just avoid that altogether. But otherwise, you were recognizing, I really want to enjoy this story. I really want to experience it. Like, when you told me that you had never gotten beyond the first spring of the game, which is played in seasons, and you start the first year in spring, that
Right.
blew my mind. I was
Yeah.
like, you didn't experience all, like, to me, the coziest part of the entire game is fall. Like, the fall, the
Right.
autumn of the game is so, like, literally, I want it in my body. Like, I get absolutely, I just love it so much. And the
Yeah.
fact that, like, I know that you have a similar love of that feeling that I'm like, you've never experienced that. Like, it absolutely
Yeah.
blows my fucking mind. So I'm like, no, we got to do this. But the fact that you recognize, like, I want to really enjoy and experience this, but I know that I can't do it alone. And
Yep.
therefore, me modifying it to fit what I need in order to enjoy it is playing with friends, is
Exactly.
playing co-op. And
Yep.
that's completely fine and completely valid. Like, you're so allowed. You are so allowed to do it that way.
Yeah.
And I am very excited to experience it with you that way. But I also feel like it's, I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like everybody could get something out of the game. I think it's so universal and just such a good time.
So I love Stardew. I love playing it with Kelsey. It is like we do it at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. We'll just start new Stardew saves and just experience the game all over again in its entirety. And of course, we have different things that we really like to do throughout the course of the game. And sometimes she helps me with something and I help her with something. I think that it is a really well-made game because every single in-day game, there's like something new to get excited about, right? Like it's like, oh, today my crops are ready, or oh, today my tool has been upgraded, or there's a festival tomorrow, or it's this character's birthday and I really like this character. And it's one of those games where you can get into it and it's all of a sudden you're teleported a few hours later. It is just overflowing with wholesome content and it's pretty relaxed, you know. The combat is maybe the one thing about it that isn't super relaxing, but I don't think it's terrible, but you know, to each their own. But I really love it. It's really something special.
Absolutely.
Have either Go Cubs or Walsh, have you guys played the game?
I played about a year into it, and
Okay.
I've really enjoyed what I have played of it. I just feel like the one thing that is stopping me, and this is so minor, I just feel like I can't get enough stuff done in a day.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. Chris has
that's
the
my
same
thing.
issue.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
And-
fair because it's hard to have an accelerated. You really are racing the clock to get everything done.
But I do like the vibe a lot. It is fun to interact with everyone. I like the anti-capitalist messaging that it has.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
And I love like small or like fun modding communities for things like it. My favorite mod of all time, probably for any game ever, is for Stardew Valley, and it's the only thing that it changes is that it gives Grandpa a nicer bed in the opening cutscene.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Walsh had said he'd played.
Looks like a snowflake game for sissies.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I don't since there are people who are interested and may not have done this storyline yet, especially Chris. I don't know if I've spoken about this before in any other Coop. So if I get partway through and you're like, nope, we heard it, I'll be like, all right, I'll shut the fuck up, no worries. There's a particular like I would ask Anthony at least, I guess, because he's played a substantial amount of the game to say what his favorite like NPC is. But personally, my favorite NPC with one of my favorite storylines, essentially when you are in the game, you create relationships with people. And if you build hearts with them to show your relationship. And if you build enough hearts, you unlock their full storyline. And you can do this with every single NPC in the game. And my favorite is Linus, who is a houseless person who lives in a tent up by the mines in the game. And their story arc and their storyline, literally, I only experienced this is the one I was talking about earlier, the 2 heart event earlier in the series, and just in earlier today rather, and literally started to cry because I love him so much. And I just love his whole storyline and the fact that there is like you can make decisions and choices that directly reflect whether or not you support, respect, and feel that there should be agency for people who live by choice in ways that are not societally acceptable. And there are so many socio-political messages in the game that do that. But this one in particular, like people who struggle with addiction, people who struggle with housing, people who struggle with mood and personality and making friends. Like there are so many things that by society standards would make people be outcasted, and instead you get to make conscious decisions that change your relationships with people in the game based off of how you accept and are okay with those standards changing in the world of Pelican Town. So just that's one of my absolute favorite things about the entire game. And Anthony, I guess, do you have a favorite NPC? That's
Do I? Yeah. So this is a spoiler, but it's also maybe a hook for some people that the game is a little bit deeper than it tells you. Eventually you get into the sewer and you find this funky little shadow man named Krobus. And he has an inventory of like strange things where they change a little bit every day. But you can actually befriend him, and I'm not going to spoil it, but your friendship with him can go a little bit deeper than you would normally think.
Hell yeah, I love it. This is that's very. I love the art. The art that you posted, like it's very cute looking. I very much enjoyed this.
He's just a
He's
little guy.
adorable.
Yeah.
In other games, like this would be an enemy that you would have to fight, but he's just a happy little man.
He's a little guy.
And he just like represents that like things that are unknown and that might be considered like darkness and scary and intimidating are actually things that can just be beautiful and wonderful and fine. Like even though it looks like something on the surface, the minute that you just take the plunge to try and understand, your understanding is rewarded 100-fold.
Yeah, absolutely. What a
So
goat!
yay, Stardew Valley!
What a goat indeed. And finally, Matt, there is a particular game that has captured your heart from dating back all the way to our Goaty episode in 2020, their very first year of this podcast. And it has now become the most talked about game in Coop history in Final Fantasy 14. And I know out of everyone here, you are probably the most locked in on this game being your favorite game of all time. So why don't you tell us why?
So we started this podcast in, as you've said a few times, 2020. And one of the games that was talked about on I don't remember which episode, but Anthony talked about WildStar and the community that he made on there and how much fun he had with that. And I was like, man, like the only real MMO experience I've had is fucking Wizard 101, which I was not going to find like a community on there, right? That's a very, very old game, very childish game. Like not a game that you're going to have some longevity with, And I know I saw a few people who were talking about, oh, Final Fantasy 14, there's this game. And you could play as Giant Catman. And I'm like, sign me up. So I did. And in late November of that year, I made an account for Final Fantasy 14. This is the very first screenshot of Lux. His appearance, other than clothing, his appearance has not changed since the day I made him. And I fell in love with the game almost immediately. And a lot of the first section is like pretty generic's not fully the right word, but it's kind of the right word. Generic JRPG type of story, but the more that you play, the better that it gets. And I finished the first expansion a little bit before I think that Game of the Year episode, sometime in December, maybe early January even. Yeah. And this is my outfit around then. And I'm sharing this just so you can kind of see what, like, along with me. This is actually mid Heavensward, the second expansion, but this was my outfit for like the end of A Realm Reborn as well. And then I get into when I finish Heavensward's fantastic, knocks me off my feet with storytelling. Then I get into Stormblood, and Stormblood is not quite as good. Just a little bit slower. Little bit slower. Story's not quite as engaging. Not quite as engaging. But I think I took like a month off of doing the story just from like a little bit bored of the game. But here's what I looked like, kind of towards the end of Stormblood.
The baby on your shoulder. The baby on your shoulder.
Got a red panda on my
Oh,
shoulder. I still have that red panda pet to this day. And then in the summer of 2021, I am ending this is a very significant time in my life. I am ending the first like real job I ever had out of college. I knew that I wasn't gonna be back there, and I was, I was scared about a lot of things, just in how much my life was going to change going forward, how much I would have to be like in this new environment. I didn't know what it was yet. But like I would be working for that and checking out things and stuff. But an entire week is spent playing Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, and I could not fucking set this game down for the life of me.
Oh,
It was the most like engrossing story I have ever been a part of, and the fact that like at the moment it was like, okay, this is in the technically third, but like the fourth expansion of a 10-year-old MMORPG that is like that like blew my mind this much. I was like, how is anything going to top this in the future, right? In the middle of me playing, I had finished the main story of Shadowbringers, but when I was playing the post Shadowbringers story content, I get a call that I'm offered my first full-time job.
wow.
And
The association.
that association is unlike anything else, combined with all of the themes of Final Fantasy XIV, like at this time, and then even more so in Endwalker, which my character looks the same in Endwalker as he did in Shadowbringers. Here is him in front of a Christmas tree.
Aw. That is the most adorable thing you've ever said.
But like this, like, so not only is this game such an important part of like my life in the sense of, hey, this was going on and you were doing this in like such a weird part of your time. It has made me new friends that I would not have been like as close to had it not been for like us bonding over this game. It's gotten me closer to our friends Ace and Mickey, who have been playing this for far longer than I have, but just one of our like favorite things to talk about among the three of us. And it just like the way that the game like brings you together, like even though I'm not like a part of the big T, big C, the community a lot. Like I don't talk to a ton of people who play the game. I'm not like, I don't have like a fucking Twitter. I don't talk to a ton of people like in game and stuff. I'll kind of like hang out AFK every once in a while in like a big city area, but I'm not like, I don't consider myself like one of those. I just like, I feel so strongly about this game and this experience and everything that it has like provided to me. On top of the fact that it's the best soundtrack that I've ever experienced in any game, the best story I've ever experienced in any game. On top of all of that, it is impossible for anything to top this, in my opinion. For me personally.
Sure.
And like it also in regards to the story, it hits a lot of things that I really enjoy in stories, particularly Shadowbringers and Endwalker, the two that I have talked about way too fucking much. But the way that Shadowbringers, and I just replayed a little bit of Shadowbringers, but the way that Shadowbringers puts into a different perspective of what it means to be a hero and how it comments on like the nature of storytelling in that way is fucking brilliant. and it always like makes me think and leaves me with a man feeling at the end.
Yeah.
And then Endwalker, which had an impact on how I've kind of viewed life. There's like a very simplistic meme that goes around where it's a fucking hamster in a pink car, and the text says the horrors persist, but so do I. And that is the fucking thesis of Endwalker, where the like so much bad shit is happening around you, but not letting that despair overcome you and still fighting, still forging ahead is what we need to do. It is how we as people move beyond the bad shit that is happening. And as much as that like bad shit sucks, like not giving up is so vital to us, to people. And the connections, the bonds that we make with people are what drives forward. We cannot do anything alone. We cannot like like this is going to sound like sappy, but I've been sappy for the past 15 minutes or whatever. The bonds that I made with you all are ones that I will never forget in my entire life. You are some of my best friends in this world. I would not be the same person that I am today if it wasn't for you guys. And you know, like all of that is something that I of course know and learn from like just living and being myself and being friends with you. But like seeing it put into the game, into like Final Fantasy 14 in the way that it is, and my connection with like my character and having that way, it's not something that is so easily replicable and so easy for me to see in a lot of things, and that's why this game just means the world to me.
Yeah, I think all of us are just like, I don't know, I'm teary-eyed right now.
Yeah, me too.
Wow. I gotta say, man, I knew this was a good idea to put you last. I knew this was a good closer. I absolutely, first of all, learning the lore of the fact that, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just for talking about it on the podcast here, but the fact that part of the reason why you even started Final Fantasy 14 is from hearing Anthony's stories about WildStar.
It is part of the reason for sure.
Yeah, like that to me is like that a new thing for me, that like I was just like, oh man, that's really really cool. But yeah, video games are cool, man. Like that,
Yeah.
like it's just the way, and like I don't know. I've been someone has said before, like I think if I'm picking between two, like between like what you do in a game, like the gameplay versus like what the story being told, I usually lean gameplay. But there is something that's so special about a game telling a story and having it resonate with you in a way that just completely, like I think about like and it took a couple playthroughs, one because I was an idiot during my first playthrough of it, but like Undertale, like I like that's a game I look back on, I'm like, holy fuck, what a video game, because I just think of how that has shaped me. I think about like many there's been just so many great like story driven games out there, and like and especially something like an MMORPG, which allows you to experience where they're huge in scope, and you get to experience it with people that you love, and then people like, and you get to experience it with a ton of people at the same time. Like and the social aspect of it, like it's something that's incredibly special. And Final Fantasy 14, like I've not heard like the praise that I hear for this game, and it's not just you, Matt, like just everywhere on the internet is just, it's unmatched. I have not heard one bad thing about Final Fantasy 14 except for the grapes, but even that's the best part of the game because people have completely embraced that.
Because the fan festival, the convention that's fucking going on right now, people show up cosplaying as the polygonal grapes.
I'm pretty sure I saw them giving out
They gave out
toys.
like stress balls of the fucking grape crystals.
Yeah, like it's just like it's such an achievement, and like good on them for like that entire journey that they went through to get to this point, to get to the point where it's the biggest thing that was happening this week in games, of the new expansion announcement and everything that's coming to Final Fantasy 14, all the collaborations they're doing. Like it's a movement, man. It's so big, and like I know for a fact I could never be part of it because I just don't have the patience, but I recognize it as something that is just so truly special, and I just love that it is that it shaped you to who you are today, Matt, and I am glad that we also could be part of it in some way, even if we are not directly playing with you in this game.
Yeah, I think like the fact that it is as big as it is, despite it starting out as literally one of the worst games ever released, the worst MMOs ever released, and then how they literally blew it up. They blew up the world, turned that into part of the story, and then created something new, rising from the ash, and then becoming like the greatest MMO ever made. I don't give a shit about classic World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
This is the greatest MMO ever made. In my opinion, the greatest video game ever made. And you know, like as someone who partakes in a lot of art, movies, theater, literature, like it takes a lot for me to say that this is the greatest piece of media of all time, but it's my personal favorite piece of media of all time, and no one will take that away from me.
100%, man. Absolutely. Anyone else have thoughts on Final Fantasy 14?
That was beautiful, and I appreciate being your friend.
Thank you.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Kelsey, I'm sorry.
I love everyone a lot.
Yeah. I also love that you kind of showed us Lux's journey too, like your character's journey from the beginning of the game to where it is now. Like, yeah, like just
It's beautiful.
It's very good. It's very good.
And another just one more quick thing.
Sure.
Maybe not super quick. I over the past couple of years of me like catching up to the main story, and like when I wasn't doing main story stuff, I was leveling up all the other jobs that you can do in the game, all the other classes, just for like a personal goal of getting something that is kind of story relevant to Shadowbringers. And I did it last week, and I'm still playing the game.
Okay.
Because I got a lot of other content that I can do,
right?
Other than just do the same set of dungeons hundreds of times. It has enthralled me. It has its hands in me, and we got word of our next adventure, our next expansion yesterday, and as of recording this, and I am so excited because just being able to like continue this adventure after preventing the end of the world is just really cool. It looks like it's going to be a fun time. It's Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail 7.0. I'm very excited for it.
It's a tropical island theme.
It is, more specifically like it's closer to like South America, ancient South American cultures, Central South American cultures. So it'll be a combination of the Road to El Dorado and Margaritaville.
Yeah, fair enough. Sounds good. I'm excited for you, man. It's
it
awesome.
Almost sounds like something that would make me play.
It'll be great. You got to go through like 300 to 400 hours of story first. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but
never mind.
That's what comes next.
Yes.
After the
Matt,
after
can
the
I
first
ask
story.
something?
Sure.
Are you sure this game hasn't just become your favorite because it's Stockholm syndrome you? After all
Absolutely. Walsh.
I don't. I think the answer is no.
I think the answer is no, because I'm not there's no like gambling addiction that I've developed like from playing Overwatch or something. Like
Sure.
it's all in service of I want to play more of this game. It's not I want to play more of this game and like to like get the skin or like to like get better at it. Obviously like I want to play better, but there's no like, oh, I didn't get the victory royale. I got to keep playing, right? It's the story is the reward. The reward is internal rather than external. It's the accomplishment of getting the like finding out what happens or making yourself stronger. That's the goal.
Thank you for sharing what you said. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy that you enjoyed the game so much.
Yeah.
And then I want to end off with reading the lyrics, the end lyrics to Footfalls, which is the main theme of Endwalker. Every step we take echoes in our wake, winding round our fate to forge ahead. Should we lose our way, tire of all this pain, we won't be afraid to forge ahead. Fearless hearts ablaze, no more time to waste. No, it's not too late to forge ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds better with a rock. Sound behind
Sure,
it.
sure, absolutely. I totally get it. And with that, that is going to do it for season 1 of the Gaming Coop.
Did anybody else feel like Matt was gonna say like every step you take, every move you make?
It has
that same cadence.
Yeah, a little bit. But let's quickly talk about what we're going to be doing for season 2 and beyond. We're going to change up the format a little bit. We've been doing a lot of like, hey, we're going to talk about a bunch of games all at once, and clearly, as you can tell, 2 hours and 20 minutes into the episode, it takes a lot. It's as I was sitting here for a while talking about these games, and I think it's going to be much better if we kind of shrink it down a little bit. And what we're going to do moving forward is for at least the main episodes of the Gaming Coop, we're going to focus on one game. And it's not going to be the entire cast of what you've been seeing here. It's going to be focusing on bringing in the people that have played the game, that are passionate about the game, and want to talk about that game further. It will include spoilers probably, or at least maybe a spoiler-free portion of the episode, and then maybe going into spoilers after the fact. But overall, it's just going to be us talking about the games that we're passionate about, but in more breaking it out into multiple or an episode dedicated to that particular game or franchise, depending on how we want to approach it. And it's just a more focused version of what we have been doing. But we have other things planned as well. Like we want to do. We wanted to keep the BitSec alive by doing these mini games. So you might have a mini game episode every once in a while. We also have a very fun idea about something called the Squawk Tank, which is essentially one person is going to be pitching to other people why they should play a specific game. And so it's a version of what we're doing with the Gaming Coop, but more specifically, we're trying to sway people into getting a game and then playing through it. And then if someone follow throughs with that, there could be I forget what we called it, but there's almost like a follow-up episode on if that person ended up liking it. And so that's the core three show ideas, along with, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna keep the bigger group format alive for the most anticipated game and for the game of the year as well. And I'm hope that you stick around with us to experience that. It may take a little bit of figuring out. I'm in the mood to try some rebranding across the board and seeing how we could work it into a schedule that maybe we could do multiple episodes in a month. We'll see how it goes. But until then, I think everyone here that's on this call, Gabe, obviously, who had to leave after his segment, and then everyone who's ever joined the Coop. I think everyone who's been part of this for the 3 years that we've been on. I think everyone who has been listening for this long, if you have been listening at all, I greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much for the support. And until we meet again, keep strong, and game on. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop, or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.